cover a variety of items, and some of these things you might already know, way to go, or you just had someone that is educating you on that. But sometimes you're not really involved in the process, right? Maybe someone a family member just buys it for you and you just drive it, right? But I think it's good to know all aspects of purchasing a vehicle because vehicle and home, those are the two major purchases you're going to make in your life, most likely. So I always like to give everybody an overview. So that's why the front page of this booklet is blank, right? So I will give you a bunch of topics that we're going to be covering. I think first and foremost, I want to make sure that you know that PST and GST, the two taxes we pay in this province, would be 7 and 5. Together they're 12, right? But did you know that not all items are taxed equally? Did you know that? When you go to the grocery store, you can have a $300 bill on your grocery bill and only pay $5 in taxes. Did you know that? Maybe you haven't paid attention, but I dare you to look next time. So when Superstore has the Save the Taxes event, people go crazy. You're like, you're only saving a couple of dollars, right? Like, it's just a gimmick, except for if you're buying TVs, right? If you're buying electronics, now they get taxed 12%, right? But produce, meat, dairy, all of that gets taxed sometimes nothing, right? So don't buy like your regular groceries just because you see that sale going on. Only buy it if there's actually a reduction in that price for that particular item you're trying to look at. The same thing with vehicle purchases. Not always are you paying both taxes. So this unit is going to cover that. So buying new is the first main topic we're going to cover. So you write this down, right? And we're going to talk about depreciation. And depreciation is the loss in value. Hello. So I'm going to give you some booklets right away. There you go. All right, and we're also going to be talking while you're buying new, there's going to be trade-in. Okay, so we're going to deal with trade-ins, where you're going to trade in your old vehicle if you have one, right, as part of the purchase. Let me zoom in just to that because I'm going to kind of stick with that for now, and I'm going to move around. So depreciation, trade-in, and basically when you're buying new, you're going to be taxed 12%. Okay. So I'm going to box this in. This is kind of a topic. Oh, and we're also going to discuss the pros and cons. Always, like whatever we do, we're going to talk about what are the good aspects and what are the bad things about buying a brand new car. Some of which you probably already know. But you're going to notice that in this course, you're going to have a problem with me when you're vague. It's like, how do you save electricity? Just turn off the lights, No, you're going to have to be more specific than that. And I will give you enough, right? The next topic we're going to discuss, and I'm going to go over to the right here, is buying used. Okay. So don't think that, oh, if I just read the front cover, I know it all. This is just to give you a quick overview, right? So when you're buying used, there's a private sale, right? Kijiji off of some individual owner. versus a dealer. There's a safety inspection, and the safety is called COI, Certificate of Inspection. You need that to register your vehicle. You can't register a vehicle without a safety. I'm sure a lot of you already know what I'm talking about. There's also going to be some pros and cons when we're buying used. COI, Certificate of Inspection. We're going to talk about that more later, so I'm not writing it out completely. Since we are on the right side, let's just go, I'll go over to the left just to make sure. So I'm going to go over to the left again, and under the buying new box, we're going to talk about financing. Just so you know, if you understand financing, this comes back when we do home finance, when we're buying a home, it's going to be exactly the same. So there you're going to have to worry about a down payment. You're going to have to worry about interest. And the interest is actually also known as the finance charge. We're only going to deal with monthly payments in this course, even though you can go bi-weekly, right? You can go semi-monthly, whatever you want. We're just going to deal with monthly payments. We're going to deal with a lien search. And we're going to deal with amortization tables. And we're going to talk about those items in more detail. So right now, if you're like, what is he talking about? Don't dread it too much. We're going to talk about insurance. Obviously, we're going to talk about MPI, Manitoba Public Insurance. We're going to talk about premiums and what affects those premiums, like the type of car, the value of your car, all those things. The likelihood that somebody might steal it. Deductibles, that is a big one, and a lot of students struggle to grasp that concept. But we're going to talk about that as well. And again, safety comes back here, and that's the COI again. You want to have that when you're registering your vehicle under your name. Okay, so we box that in too. I will say it many times, but deductible is really what you pay when you make a claim. Have you heard of a $200 deductible? If you haven't heard of that, you will hear of it when you insure your car. If I choose a $200 deductible policy, that means that if I get into a crash, I'm gonna have to pay the 200 bucks. If you have a $300 deductible, you pay 300 bucks if you get into a crash. Regardless of how much it costs to repair, you pay that amount, okay? And so if you're at fault, if somebody else hits you and it's their fault, they have to pay the deductible. You don't pay it, right? It's only if you're at fault that you have to pay the deductible. The higher the deductible, the less likely you are to make a claim. So we'll talk about that when we get to insurance. So underneath financing, we're almost done, by the way, so you don't have to worry about space. Leasing. Leasing is really long-term rental. In there, you will also deal with down payments quite often, but they're not taxed. That's the important thing. You're going to deal with guaranteed, residual value. Oops. Lease payment is taxed, right? 12%. Lease payment is always taxed 12%. Box that in. What is the guaranteed residual value? That's how much you would have to pay if you are done with the lease and you still want to buy it. They actually will tell you how much you will have to pay at the end of the lease. Justin wasn't here, right? All right. And last item we need to talk about is operating costs. So basically, what does it take to keep a car running? All right. Maintenance is too vague in this course. Okay. You have to be specific. So you need to make regular oil changes, right? You need to replace tires. You could talk about a coolant flush. That's when they drain all of the coolant from the engine, and there's every 5 or 7 years you have to do that. Okay. Rotate tires. Sometimes it's free, sometimes you need to pay for it. Replacing wipers. You can say top up on the windshield washing fluid, right? Anything like that would be considered operating costs. And you might be asking, what about fuel, Mr. Dirksen? Yes, it would be. But quite often I ask a question, something like this. Other than fuel and insurance, what operating costs can you think of? And so that's why I don't put fuel down, because it's too obvious. But that would definitely be in that category. So operating costs is like, what does it take to keep it going and to basically keep it up and shape, right? Okay, and now we're going to start the unit officially, but right, you should have an overview of everything, right? When you open this booklet and you're preparing for the exam, you just take a quick, okay, like in a nutshell, right? Like if you want the big topics, right? It's all of these highlighted items that you should be thinking of and be aware of. Right? So buying new, used, financing, insurance, leasing, operating costs. If you know those topics, you're in good shape. And that's what I basically do for every unit. Now it's blurry. Sorry. There you go. So now we're going to get started. I apologize. The printing shop did not have holes here. So if you're a binder person, there are no holes on this booklet. I have a hole punch right up here. If you're wanting to do that later on, you can do that. But let's go to the first page here, buying new. If you have a highlighter, I encourage you to have it ready. If you have if you need a calculator, I have some up front, like on the ledge of that whiteboard. You can help yourself to those, but make sure you get a good calculator. I talked about it yesterday. I say it many times because it does make a difference, a big difference, right? So have that ready before we get started. So everything I box in terms of formulas is important, okay? So when I give you a formula and I box it in, you're probably like, okay, he's probably telling us to put it on the study sheet, just so you know. Right at the beginning here, MSRP, because every once in a while it comes up. It stands for the manufacturer's suggested retail price. So when they make a brand new car, they kind of suggest to dealerships how much they should sell it for. And usually when there's a sale, right, like end of year clearance sale, $10,000 off the MSRP, right? They're saying that we're gonna sell it for $10,000 less than what they're suggesting we should, right? So it's kind of like a baseline for everybody to know this is kind of what the car is worth. All right, so some definitions here. Depreciation is the amount by which an item decreases. So that first word is decreases in value. As you know, a car is a depreciating asset. It loses its value. As soon as you drive it off the lot, it will go down in value. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. Residual, think of residue. Residue is how much is left, right? So residual or depreciated value is the value of the car after time passes. Okay. So it's the value of the car after time passes. Standard equipment is basic equipment, right, that comes from factory. Let me zoom in a little bit. There we go. Optional equipment, extras, that you can add for a fee. That's one of the advantages of buying new. I never had the privilege, and I probably never will, of buying brand new, but you can basically customize it to your needs, right? My in-laws were able to do it, and you can basically go online, right, and you just click, I want leather seats, I want this interior, I want heated steering wheel, all of that. Just you basically put together what you want, right? But you have to pay for it, of course, but you can do it. Sticker price, watch this. Sticker price is when you take the base price or the MSRP and you add any options that they talk about, plus the freight, which is transportation, right? It costs a lot of money to transport a vehicle from the manufacturer to the dealership. Have you seen those trucks, right, with the new cars? Somebody's paying for every single one of those cars, right? If not right away, at some point when you buy the car, you will pay for it if it's brand new. Watch this, it's before tax. Very important that you know that the sticker price would not include taxes. Okay? Freight, obviously, the cost of transporting a vehicle from the manufacturer to the dealership. Warranty is a plan that covers major repairs, but not regular maintenance for a specified time or mileage. And mileage, I know we don't deal with miles in Canada, it's kilometers, but it stands for the distance you drove, okay? So a lot of warranties, they say it's for 5 years or 100,000 kilometers, whichever one comes first. So if you're a contractor that drives around the city all the time, you might get there in 3 years, right? Because you're driving more. If you're just driving it to work and it's not far, it might take you 7 years to get there. That's when the 5 years cuts it off, right? But the number one indicator of the value of your car is what? What do dealers look for? The first thing they do when they try to determine the value of your car? The condition, so the condition for sure, what else? Something else they look at right away. They will ask you for it or they will look for it. Distance, yeah. The kilometers, right? The kilometers you drove. You go on Kijiji and you scroll, it's like, oh man, they're all 15 grand, the one I want. All of a sudden you see like an $8,000 car. You're like, oh, I want to buy it, right? You click on it, look at the miles, it's going to be high, right? So remember that mileage is really the first thing that determines the value of your car. Of course, the condition, right? If there's rust, of course, it's a different story, right? Like if it stands out, you're not going to get the money for it. But mileage is for sure. If you couldn't see the car, they would ask you for the mileage right away. All right, trade-in is some dealership will take an old vehicle and subtract, watch this, before adding tax. So trade-in, they subtract the value before adding tax, right, from the purchase price of the car. If there's a down payment, the amount you paid towards the car, this is subtracted after taxes. So a down payment, you would take that away after the taxes have been applied to the purchase price. Trade-in has to do before. All right, here is again in various units, problems of this unit, right? GST is 5, PST is 7. All right, let's do the first question here. Dinesh is a carpenter in Thompson. He wants to buy a pickup truck. It costs $28,000. That's basically your MSRP, right? The value of the truck. I'm going to have it higher up there. And the depreciation will be 20% per year. So it's saying that this car is losing its value at a rate of 20% every year. Okay. What I want you to know when it's depreciation type of question, right here on the side, don't worry about tax, okay? Oh, you can't even see that, hold on. On the side here, don't worry about taxes. I will never ask you a depreciation question and then expect you to add taxes. That's not what this is about. It's about figuring out how much value have you lost over time. Okay? And so make sure you have enough room because we're going to use pretty much this whole space from top to bottom. So that's why I start way at the top here. Year one, you start with the value of the car, right? And you multiply it by the percentage. And remember, yesterday we dealt with that. Percent needs to be divided by 100 before you can work with it. So it's 0.2 or 0.20. So in this case, we multiply it by 0.20. So I have the key in front of me, but I always work through it. 90% of the time, I'll work right through it with you. And so the first year, you lost 5,719. Okay. And it's exactly, right? So after the first year, you've lost this much. Now, don't say, oh, I'm just going to multiply this by 3 because it's asking over 3 years, right? Don't do that. So what we do is we take that number and we subtract it from what we started with. Okay? So I take 28,595 minus 5,719. And so when I try to calculate how much I lose in year 2, I first have to subtract what is lost in year 1. And so you basically start off with 22,876, and we multiply that by 0.20 again. Just read the question carefully. Sometimes it's different percentages every year. In this case, it's always 20%. So we go 22,876 times 0.20, and we lose a little bit less. And that's how this works. Okay. You lost 5,700. The second year, you lose 4,500. And we need to do this for one more year. So I subtract 45, 75, 20. And it won't always be nice and round numbers. So year 3, because they're asking me for 3 years, right? Year 3, it's 18,380 cents times 0.20. So sorry, I'm right there, right? I'm just multiplying that answer times 0.2. And on the third year, I lost 3,660.16. So every year, you lose a little bit less, and a little bit less, and a little bit less. But you are losing, but it slows down, right? So watch this. What is the question really asking? How much value is lost, right? Total depreciation, right? How much value is lost? And so we will have to add up, right? Total lost. We just add up those numbers. And I'm kind of going to go up on a hill here to make sure I'm just going to keep, right? So I'm just showing you that I add up every single year. And actually the dollar sign only needs to show up on your final answer. You don't have to have dollar signs all over the place. That is time consuming, as long as you don't forget about it. And so you lost this much. lost over 3 years. I don't know if I said it earlier. I have a morning class, that's why I might repeat myself a little bit, but you lose most of the value in the first, did I say that? The first 4 years? You lose most of the value. Like if you buy a brand new car in 4 years, you're going to lose a lot. Like it's going to go down like this and then it kind of flattens out. And it still goes down, but it's slower, right? So what is the depreciated value, right? Basically, how much is it worth? Because we just talked about how much you lost, right? Now you want to know how much is this car worth after 3 years. And I'm going to show you two methods because I want you to understand. Method 1, what I will do is you know how we kept on subtracting what we lost and then we had year 2, we subtracted, then we had year 3. So if we take the 18,300.80 and we subtract what was lost that year, then that will give us the value of the car. So it's basically just taking it one step further, right? And that is 14,640.64. So if you think about it, you lost almost as much as your car is still worth, right? Method 2, you take the 28,595 and you subtract what you lost over the 3 years. It should be the same, right? Still the same. There it is. And I love arrows every once in a while. So I'll just show you, right? I'll draw an arrow from the 18,300 and just show you that that's where I got that from. And this 13,000, right, came from there. Too many arrows, then it gets messy, right? We're not going to do that. So this is depreciation, which will show up later on a worksheet. I just want to say something about it though. Please read carefully. A lot of students, I ask them a brand new question, they just come back here and they just kind of repeat the exact same steps. So for example, I ask you for 2 years and the student just goes ahead and does all 3 years, right? So read the question, like how many years are we talking about? Is it just 2 years? Then you would only have had to do it for 2 years, right? If it's 1 year, then you only do it for 1 year. And so sometimes the percentages change over years, so it might be 20, 15, and then 10%. So watch out for that. It will just change slightly, but the basic idea is here. Next page. Right. Brianna lives in Swan River. She plans to buy a new car. So that is actually a key word because soon we're going to talk about use, right? We know this is a new car. So on your study sheet, you're going to be like new car right here. Okay, right? It's talking about the base price, which is 18,455. she made this list of extra charges she has to pay. The dealership has offered to take her old vehicle as a trade-in. So there you are. You're highlighting the trade-in because it's important to us, right? I'm just going to say this. Because we're dealing with a new car, it's the same thing as MSRP. Okay, sorry you can't see that, but base price MSRP is the same thing. It's kind of like this is what the suggested retail price is, and so there we go. So the first question is asking us, what is this sticker price? And here's the formula. I will say it one more time, right? I just call it, right, sticker is equal to base plus any options plus the freight, which is transportation. Remember, sometimes transportation might be stated as a percentage of the base price. So don't dread it. You know what to do. Percentages of a number, just turn it into a decimal, multiply it by the dollar amount, and there you get your dollar representation of it. Okay, so in this case, sticker would be 18,455 plus, I'm going to put all the options in a bracket just so that we separate them a little bit. And so if you look at the list here, extended warranty, security package, entertainment package, anything that looks like it has been an add-on. Sometimes they do like a special maintenance package or whatever. Those are all options. So these three items here on that list, we would consider as options. So I write those numbers down, 1489 plus, oh, I shouldn't have closed the bracket, sorry guys. 1489 plus 1250 plus 750. And then there's that transportation, right? The freight right there, 400 bucks. That's it. Like those, if you were to add up all those, you get your sticker price in this case. So let's go ahead and do that. 18,455, 1489, 1250, 750, 400. You get 22,344. And that is your final answer. Remember, no taxes. Okay. Sticker price, by definition, is not taxed, right? Like that's what we would see on the bill before we get taxed. So the boxed in should be on your study sheet. Let me tell you something about formulas. Formulas, I only gave them because students asked for them. I used to just teach it, and I hoped you would understand. And so some students are like, Mr. Dirksen, on the test, right? This is on the test. Like, you didn't give us any options in this question, right? Well, then there are no options, so you just get rid of it, right? It's just zero. Or there might not be transportation, right? And like it might just be the base price. Then the sticker price is the base price, okay? So these components may be there, but they don't always have to be there, okay? Next, what is the total purchase price after tax? Let me highlight that. And so this is another formula that I'm going to give you. To buy a new car, we basically go sticker minus trade-in, and we multiply that by 1.12. the 1.12 takes care of taxes. And I want to explain this real quick. I'm not going to write this down. You just look up on the screen as soon as you have that. Let's box it in, right? So you know. The 1.12 is just a quick way of adding taxes to something. Okay? So let's say you go to a store. I want to buy a Nintendo Switch for my boys, right? $399. How would I quickly add taxes to this? Well, the answer is multiplied by 1.12. The 1 and then the 12 is the 12% tax, and the 1 in front will take the $399 and add the taxes to it if you do this. So the final price that I would have to pay at the till is $446.88. Okay? Short way. The long way would be to say $399 times 0.12. Those will be the taxes, right? Then I add $399 to it. It's $446.88. Okay? So multiplying anything at the store, anything like electronics or anything like that, you just multiply by 1.12 to add 12% tax to it. Okay? So keep that in mind. So here we go. We need to answer this question, right? So new would be the sticker. So we know that our sticker price is $22,344. We've calculated it above. So we just go with that. We go minus any trade-in. There's a trade-in right here. So we're going to take that away. And then we add taxes. That's the unique thing about a trade-in. You actually save some taxes as well. So if somebody's, all right, like, so in this case, you do it that way. 22,344 minus 6125. I will take the extra time because it takes seconds, right, to write this down. And now I'm going to multiply by 1.12. 18,165.28. There's your price after tax if you buy a new vehicle. Okay. I will write this down next to you. So after tax, okay. So when you see the word after tax, it means that that price already includes taxes, right? Keep that in mind. This price right here would have been before taxes. This is how much you would have had to pay before taxes, right? Note 16,219, right? Before taxes. That's just a note on the side. And 18,165 after taxes. So this one was a bit guided. The second one, not so much. Are we good? I'm going to leave that up there if you're still copying. So example 3, Joseph wants to buy or purchase a new, there it is, that's very important to us, a new Toyota Corolla. The base price is $15,995. He wants the sport model, which is $3,800 extra, and also wants to add paint protection for $488.45. Transportation is $425. So a lot of components here, right? I kind of do that on purpose. If he trades in his own old car for 3,000, right? So there's a trade-in for 3,459. How much will the new car cost after tax? Okay, so they want the price after tax. So this is not as guided. So this is going to be a little bit messier in a sense. So I do identify that this is a new car. So I'm going to go sticker minus trade times 1.12 because it's asking to do the tax. So you need to add the 1.12 in there. And so maybe to make things easier, I will figure out the sticker price on here on the side. Right? So I will just go like this. I will take the 15,995. I will add the 3,800. I will also add the paint protection and the freight, right? So I'm adding any addition, any extras, any even if they had put down like a tune-up kit or anything like that, that's extras. Follows the same category. So I'm doing that on the side here. Let's figure out our sticker price because they didn't ask for it, but I want it, right? So I'm going to go just add everything up. That's 20,000. 668.45. I'm going to park it there. That's not my answer, but I definitely need it. So I'm going to squiggly line it because it's important to me. Okay, so now we can come back to our main question and just take our sticker price, subtract. Is there a trade-in? In fact, there is a trade-in in this case. If it hadn't been there, don't worry about it, right? So our formula is now down to this. We've done the sticker price on the side. I would encourage you to do that. Do it on the side just in case. And so let's subtract as we get 17,249.45 times 1.12. That gives us a final price of 19,319.38 after tax. And you know what? What would the sticker price be? Let's just go like this. We already did that, right? We already figured out the sticker price. So just arrow down there and then we're good. We're almost done. All right, we're going to go to the next page there. On page 3, there's every once in a while I insert a blank page. And we're going to talk about some advantages and disadvantages. And we're going to compare it to buying a used, right? So when we are coming up with this, it's advantages of buying. So you need to have at least 2 of these on your study sheet, because as we move through the unit, you're going to realize that there's quite a few of these. And you could have a test of 40 marks where you have 4 marks worth just state operating costs, state an advantage of buying new or an advantage of leasing. That's 10%, right? Just like that. And I don't want you to leave those blank. Okay, so make sure you have something good there. So what would you say? I'll put some words to your thoughts, but what would you say are some advantages of buying a brand new car? If you had to just say something. It's new. Elaborate on that a little bit. No miles on it, okay? So what would, if there are no miles on it, what would you pay less on? What usually comes with owning a car? Operating cost, maintenance. You're talking insurance. We're going to talk about that as well. Lower maintenance, right? What else is good about buying brand new? Yeah. Customization, all right. Warranty. Perfect, perfect. I think we have enough. I'm not going to overwhelm you with points, so I'm just going to give you those very good points here. So lower maintenance. Lower maintenance cost because it's under warranty, right? So you kind of state that will be lower maintenance cost. Why? Because the car is under warranty. So you're not going to have like major expenses. If your transmission goes, you're talking a couple $1,000s, right? And so customization. Yes, right? You can order according to needs / wants, right? So some examples here, right? Leather seats, color, heated seats, sunroof, that'd be cool, right, etc. So yes, so sometimes you're gonna have to explain why you said that, and that's why I'm doing that. You can add whatever. You can add backup camera, sports package, chrome package, whatever. Special rims. Don't need to worry about hidden damage. So we all know, right? Like when you go on Kijiji, it might be someone that bought it off of AutoPack. It's a write-off, and they just fixed it. It's like, hey, right? You want this car? And then you're like, yeah, it looks great. And then you keep driving, and then you start hearing things, right? So you don't have to worry about that when it's brand new. And if so, you take it right back to the dealership. Safer. Why would it be safer? It has the latest safety features. Some of which, right? Backup, camera, lane departure assist, or something like that. Right? I'm drawing a blank here. We'll just leave it at that. I'm trying to come up with. Anyways, there's the 360 cameras, right, all around your car. Some of them slam the brakes automatically when you get too close to another car. You can use your own words. You don't have to use the fancy words here for this. And last one is more fuel efficient. They need to comply, right? Those cars comply with latest emission standards, right? So governments are getting stricter and stricter on, like, they tell companies, hey, by this year, you make sure your car doesn't use more than this, right? So they're getting back to work and they're making the car more fuel efficient. Then add hybrid cars, right? Then add electric cars, and so they are more fuel efficient. That's it. That's it for advantages. Let's do some disadvantages here. I hope my writing is okay. I've never been really good at it. This is already me trying hard, okay? So don't judge. Disadvantages. There will be higher depreciation costs. Right? That's all I'm going to say there. That's good enough. It costs more to insure. Somebody mentioned insurance. It is actually more costly to insure a new vehicle. And the last one is you pay for freight. Right? Some of you might say, no, when I bought my new car, they said we're going to waive the freight on you. You're not going to have to pay for it. Different story, right? Like in general, you would have to pay for it. Sometimes they want to get rid of cars, so they kind of entice you a little bit, sweeten the deal. All right, that's it. So on page 4 and 5, there's some questions there. And so I know we don't have a whole lot of time, but you're staying back 5 minutes, right? So we have a bit over 10. So why don't you get started? And I will this time, not all the time, but I will give you some time tomorrow to work on this as well. So you don't have to do homework today. How's that?